is a celebrity table, eh? It's a good way to start the last day of Fan Expo. So as you eat your eggs and bacon and bagels and everything else, how are the eggs? Are the eggs good? Good eggs. Excellent. We're going to get some behind-the-scenes stories and anecdotes from our stars here. So, Jerry, could we start with you? Obviously, you've done so many amazing roles in your career, but you're especially beloved by the crowd at Fan Expo for playing 7 of 9 in Voyager. Do you have any story or anecdote from the set that kind of that you continue to think about years later?
Yeah, there are lots of them, but one that stands out quite clearly. It was a set full of goofballs and practical jokers, and so there were a lot of tricks played on each other, and we had a lot of fun. Some of the cast members were easier targets than others sometimes, and Garrett Wong, who played Ensign Kim, was a particularly easy target for pranks and jokes and tricks and stuff, and got flustered extremely easily, which made it even more fun. So, you know, when you're on set and you have what we call a walk and talk, which is when, you know, 2 actors are walking, obviously, and talking in a scene down the hallway or whatever. And so when you're rehearsing, you know, you have to do it a few times for the camera people and the lighting and the sound and everything. And so we were rehearsing a scene. It was a scene with Garrett and I. And, you know, you're in one. You have to stand reasonably close together because you're the camera has to get both of you on the same shot. And so we get to the end of the hall and they say, cut, go back to 1, which means go back to your start mark. Because we were going to try it again. And he turns around before me, and in theory, his story is he was going to just kind of put his hand on my back and usher me back to the mark. But he turned before I did, and he accidentally, full on grabbed me. And turned immediately 87 different shades of purple and red. And he completely got flustered. Went, I thought it was your elbow. Okay. So we went back and finished the rehearsal. We went back to our trailers and finished getting ready for the scene. And when we came in, because I like to help my fellow castmates, I had some post-it notes to help them out, some visual aids. So I had a post-it note here with an arrow that said elbow. And I put a post-it note there that had an arrow that said not an elbow. So we didn't have that problem again.
Did Garrett eventually kind of develop an armor and expect that there were going to be jokes coming toward him?
Oh, he knew, but there's no armor for him.
No.
Yeah. He has target written on. He's got a bullseye on his forehead. It's so easy.
A lot of post-it note, right? Yeah. I want to introduce as well, I meant to at the top, but on the side of the stage, this is Amanda, who's our sign language interpreter for the morning. So say hello. Another amazing ensemble cast, obviously, with the Hobbit films. Do you have a moment that stands out to you from shooting?
Oh, yes. Well, yes, The Hobbit, there were plenty of strange, extraordinary moments. One of the things with doing that film was that Peter Jackson was constantly trying to put us in life-threatening situations. As much as we possibly could. And there was a scene where myself and 3 of the other dwarves had to be buried in fish. Yes. Now, he claims that he chose us for very good sort of character reasons, that we're having the fish poured on us. But basically he did it because he just wanted to piss us off. And he brought us in on this particular day, and they showed us first the stunt guy who was showing us what was going to happen. And this stuntman was, well, he wasn't wearing a costume, he was wearing like a red suit, and he had a crash helmet on. And he was like, all right, okay, let's do this. So they poured the fish on him, and it went up to about his waist, and it was all like, ah, great. And then Pete said, wow, shall we shoot it? Yeah, great, okay. So I'm the first one in, and they do it, and it's pretty unpleasant, you know, you get buried up there with fish, and then a couple of the other guys did it, and we're all like high-fiving each other, saying, you know, well, it wasn't so bad. And then Pete just said, well, yeah, it looks great, but there's just not enough fish. So he put 200 pounds of fish in a trough above our heads, and well, he buried us. And the first guy, I mean, we were, you know, a little concerned about this. The first guy was Adam Brown, who played Ori
It was the little cute little dwarf. And we're like, all right, we're talking about that. And he went in and sat in the barrel, and they were getting ready, and the trough was above his head. And we went, catchy, this is not going to look good. It's looking bad. And they pulled the trough just at the right moment. We said, okay, fish! And all of this fish just went, and he disappeared. He completely disappeared. And there was this moment of silence. And I suddenly looked, I thought, God, I mean, can he breathe? And then there was this voice, Pete, saying, Adam, say something, can you hear us, Adam? And of course, Adam, because I went on to do it myself, you couldn't move literally a muscle, nothing. You were entombed, and so he had a tiny bit of air in front of him, and he couldn't speak. And they had to get all this fish off him, and it went on and on and on, one fish at a time. And it was only afterwards that we found out that Adam had a phobia of fish. And he never told me. It was one of the most unpleasant days.
Buried in 200 pounds of fish, how long does the fish smell stay with a human?
Oh, I've still got it.
Hey, Robin Laura Taylor, how's it going?
What's up? I can't believe I have to follow SpongeBob. I can't.
How about Robin's ongoing performance as the Penguin on Gotham, though, am I right? Yeah.
Could be sitting here between drooling and fish.
What am I going to do? Man. Okay, so any story. Hi everybody, what's up? Okay. I don't know what to do. Anytime you guys say anything, so it's like everything comes flooding back. It's incredible. Okay, so my story. So Gotham is a dark show. I'm sure, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but yeah, it's just, light, family hour. Mondays, 8 o'clock at Fox, but anyway, so when we're shooting, we try and have as much fun as we can, even though the subject matter is, gets pretty intense. And so last season I was shooting a lot with Jada Pinkett Smith, who's absolutely fantastic. Yeah. She's amazing. And she and I were, we were enemies, and so throughout the whole season we're butting heads and stuff. But we were trying to have fun on set. And there was one specific scene where she had to she took a pin and stabbed it through my hand. And yeah, it was pretty intense. And so we were doing that, and then we were we just wanted to have fun. And so I don't know how it happened, but the director that time was playing music. He was playing music between, whenever they had to change the scenes over or do anything. He would put on his radio or his shuffle, and then we would all play shuffle. It's 2005. But anyway, so suddenly I was we were just sitting there opposite Jada, because she also never leaves set because her costumes were so intense. She just didn't. She, if it was we cut on a scene and then she would just stay there, because she's wearing collars and crazy stuff. If you haven't seen the show, look at the outfits. You can't really do a lot in them. Except the one thing she could do is a really mean body roll. So she was sitting there and the music was playing and I was sitting there across from her because I didn't want to leave her alone. I was sitting there with solidarity with Jada, and then she's just sitting there and she's suddenly and then I was sitting there. I was and so then my phone started then we got into the forward ones, and the whole thing and we did it until her necklace she was getting really into it, and then her necklace goes on the floor, and they're wardrobe, get the necklace. Anyway, that's my story. I just had worked on my body. I can't compete with this
Well, you know the deal. The same thing with Walking Dead. It's kind of the same with Gotham. It's really really dark and not very family friendly show. And so, oh man, in season 1, 5 years ago, which is it's a long time for me. We were. It was right after lunch, and we were in this air conditioned tent because it was 107 degrees and it was super humid. It was, and so me and my dad were sitting in the tent, and we just saw this mannequin lying on of a zombie in like the corner of the thing, and so we were like, the heck? And so we were looking at it for a while, and then it started sitting up. We were like, it's a little weird, and so we realized it was a human. But anyways, later, we were the kids on the set, and so Noah was one of my friends. He was on the set with us a lot, and so he walked into the tent. We're like, hey Noah, go kick that mannequin over there. So he starts walking towards the mannequin. We knew the zombie was awake and everything, and was aware of what was about to happen. And so he walked over there. He was like, okay. And he starts to kick it, and then she reaches up and grabs his leg. And starts freaking out. And that's how it started.
Oliver and James Phelps, and you guys were in all 8 Harry Potter films. And your teen years on set. So James, let's start with you. Do you have a fun story?
I did have one, but seeing Breakfast has brought back another one, which goes back to my second week on Potter, which is my first ever acting gig, so I'm kind of learning as I'm going on the whole thing. We were shooting in the Great Hall for the first time, and when Harry walked into the Great Hall, and it's so splendid, that is exactly what it was like when we first walked in. But the first scene we shot was a breakfast sequence, sorry. And so we sat down and we're all talking, and there's like 500 kids everywhere, and then on the top table there was Richard Harris, Alan Rickman, Maggie Smith, David Bradley, Rob Coltrane, basically who's who of British acting kind of sitting there. And so they bring all the food out, and so right, just everyone just dig in, eat, we're going to shoot you all, there's some dialogue going on, but we're going to shoot you all eating. Okay, so I look up at the top table, and they're just like very small bites, just very small. Meanwhile, we're just waffling all around. So then I learned that there can possibly be about 15 takes. So then by the end of it, it's just, oh god. And then they said, right, now we're going to do dessert. Here's the Halloween scene. And I thought, oh, great candy. And then again, I didn't learn my lesson that time. And then it came on to dinner scene, and it was Brussels sprouts and yeah. Great breakfast is good for everybody. But yeah, that was one of my things where I learned there, and then not to wolf down food straight away.
Yeah, morning everyone. For me, it would be James said about the first one. Mine would be from the last film, and my character had a prosthetic fake ear. Well, he didn't have any ear really, a hole on the side of his head. And we were filming one day, and my soccer team were actually playing in London against one of the London teams. And Donald Gleeson, who plays our older brother in the films, we support the same team. And we said, oh, come on, we'll go see the game if we finish early enough tonight. No. And we said to him, so they wrapped us at 7 o'clock, kick-off was 7:45, so okay, we've got quick change and go. Got a car, and then traffic was bad, so we had to get on the underground across London. Travelling, this is a really quiet carriage. Anyway, didn't think anything of it, got to the ground. Not many people sitting around this facility. Left the ground, it's really people looking at us now. And this part of, you always think about the soccer hooligan type thing. They're playing a team that has a bit of a reputation for it. And you suddenly realise no one's looking at us. And I forget that I've got a bloody ear hole. Donald's got scars where he's been attacked by a werewolf. It's one of the biggest thugs going to make it. Yeah, it was really good. And then apparently they wanted to do something for the programme, but they said it looked way too believable. Too much again. I think we were on Match of the Day that day because there was about 7 people that side, 10 people that way, and about 4 seats in between.
I have a question for Amanda. I wasn't watching you during my story, but how do you sign? I gotta know.
I signed a laugh.
Oh, okay.
That was a really irritating voice.
Thanks for giving it to me straight, man.
Awesome. I have one last burning question for Mads that I thought of during your story. How long after you injured James Bond down there does it take James Bond to forgive you?
I haven't seen Daniel since.
He's a 004 now.
I want to thank, on behalf of everyone here, all of our celebrity panelists for being part of this breakfast this morning. And again, a big thank you to all of you for supporting SickKids Hospital and the Coast to Coast Against Cancer Foundation. Check out what they do online. It's amazingly worthy. Thanks again to Brandon. Woo! And thank you for supporting cancer research and an amazing cause. Have a great rest of your expo. Give yourself one more big thanks.